Birkin bag at Hermes boutique will cost you 38,000 USD. But what is the real cost out of the factory? Today, I'm going to break it down in front of you, step by step. First thing first, Hermes only use the leathers from the 3 top-level suppliers. One is called Nuti from Italy. And the second is Weinheim from Germany. And the third is Haas from France. One piece of Togo leather, the same leather as this one, will cost 450 USD.
The bags come from China, but the leather comes from Nigeria. The bags are manufactured in China, but the leather, the exotic skins, the snake skin, the alligator, it comes from Kano, Nigeria. Come on in, let's talk about it, yes.
Do you know that most of the leather used around the world actually comes from Africa? Yeah, your luxurious Italian leather handbag may have more Nigeria in it than Italy. In fact, African leather is highly sought after by fashion houses both within and outside of Africa, particularly in this African country right here. Made in Italy? Try made in Nigeria. Let's talk about it.
Hey my people, Gracie here once again. Welcome back to the channel. I hope that from wherever you my lovelies are watching this from, you're doing all right and God has protected you and preserved you very well. I do appreciate all of you that keep supporting 28,000 amazing people on here. Yes, and a big shout out to my members that choose to support exclusively. And as always, you know we do have a beautiful episode loading down here to look at. And yeah, about yesterday, I think I brought you a video about Chinese suppliers and manufacturers exposing all these big brands, right? And everybody was excited because, hey, guess what? They could be able to afford all those luxurious bags because at the end of the day, it is the same thing. Yeah, in these videos, the Chinese people, you know, hint at something that was very important, which is the kind of leathers that they use to make all these luxurious bags, the Birkins, you know, the Gucci, the Louis Vuitton, oh, the Versaces, and every one of those beautiful bags that you all want to have in your possession, right? And they mentioned Italian leather, right? Yeah. But guess what? In today's, China is also going to be exposed. And all these other luxurious brands too are about to be exposed because guess what? They are not being really truthful of whose leather they are using. What if I told you this leather comes from Africa and Africa is not mentioned anywhere? But you all know that. Africa don't get any credit for whatever it produces, yet it is very crucial to the luxuries the world is able to enjoy. Let's roll this one on. Don't forget to subscribe if you're landing on here for your very first time.
The bags come from China, but the leather comes from Nigeria. The bags are manufactured in China, but the leather, the exotic skins, the snake skin, the alligator, it comes from Kano, Nigeria. Come on in, let's talk about it, yes. Because I love that the Chinese manufacturers are coming on here and asserting that they are producing these luxury bags and luxury goods, but also Black people have a hand in that manufacturing by way of tanneries in Kano, Nigeria. So a tannery is an institution, a business in which you are converting animal products like skins, leather, suede, alligator skins, snake skins, all kinds of exotic skins into textiles so that they can be used for goods, clothing, bags. And Kano, Nigeria is headquarters, world headquarters for this practice. And they have long since been headquarters for hundreds of years. So I interviewed during the pandemic a man named Winston, and he leads a business out of Kano, Nigeria called Winston Leathers. And they are actually a 3rd generation tannery. So he confirmed that his tannery produces leather goods and exotic skins for brands like LVMH, so Louis Vuitton's portfolio of brands, Ralph Lauren, many other luxury brands. And I interviewed him on Twitter. I'll link to that thread so you can go back and read it. But yeah, he shared that this practice of providing exotic skins to the world, but specifically to China, goes back to the Silk Road, when traders in Mali were providing leather goods up through Morocco and on into Asia. Moroccan leather is known for its quality, and Winston actually shared that Moroccan leather can be traced back to Kano, Nigeria, and it's actually Kano leather. So I love all the conversation that Chinese manufacturers have started around like amplifying that those goods are produced and manufactured in China, I want to go a layer deeper and talk about how Black people are actually contributing to the manufacturing as well, because the leather goods and the exotic skins that make up those bags that they're putting together in China actually started on the continent of Africa, in Nigeria. Okay, let's talk about it. If we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about all of it. And, sorry, I'm getting ready. I'm gonna put my brush down to talk about some bags that I love by Black designers. So this beauty is Antelope. This is by a brand called Brother Valet. A Black woman named Aurora James leads that brand. I still wear fur, don't kill me. I read a great New York Times article about how basically fur was phased out when Black women were able to access it in greater numbers. So basically, because Black women could access something that white people felt was exclusive to them, that's when they decided, oh no, vegan leather. And I am not a proponent of, you know, inhumane treatment of animals, but I do love fur, and it is a part of Black womanhood, Black girlhood, rites of passage. We hand down fur coats. So I love a fur. Brother Valet has great bags, and they also benefit women in Africa who construct these bags. I want to talk about Hanifa. I can't get enough of Hanifa. I love Hanifa Muvemba as a person. And she is also a Black designer from the continent of Africa. She is from Congo, and she produces bags. This is a great bag. It comes in a larger size. It also comes in black, I believe, and maybe red. And yes, I love this bag. She sent this bag to me. Thank you so much, sister. Love this down and wear it, okay? And we gotta talk about Loire. So Loire is headed by Raul Lopez. He is a person of color. And he's actually previously one half of Hood by Air. So if you're familiar with Hood by Air, they pioneered streetwear. He was one half of the duo who founded it and led it. So icon already. He circled back, okay, and hit us with another brand called Loire. This is the ostrich texture. This is 100% genuine leather. It's ostrich textured. I also have a smooth version of this bag in brown. And then I also want to shout out another Black handbag designer named Wilglery. She heads the brand Anima Iris. I had the pleasure of working with Wilglery when I was at Amazon. So I was brought to Amazon. Many of you know I work in luxury fashion. Hi, I'm Shelby. I'm a costume and fashion historian, a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree, a Vogue Business 100 Innovator honoree, and a 10+ year veteran of the luxury fashion industry. And during my career journey, Amazon brought me over to stand up their luxury division. And so I onboarded luxury brands with an emphasis on Black luxury brands, okay, and I got to onboard Anima Iris, and Wilglery and her team were amazing. Love her bags down, own more than a couple. They're not within my reach right now, but wanted to shout her out because her bags are still produced on the continent of Africa as well. So support her bags. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, girlies, because it has to go without saying. Black people are in the mix with a lot of things, okay? And this is one of them. So just as China is making sure to assert their contribution and their attribution to the luxury handbag industry, I want to make sure that we assert and attribute Black people's contribution, which is specifically in Kano, Nigeria, via these tanneries. So yeah.
You know, my family make leather for a lot of the biggest fashion houses in the world, and it's absolutely true. In 30 years of making the best leather in the world, we have never gotten credit for the work we do. There has never been a brand we supply who ever came out to say, oh, I get my leather from Winston Leather in Nigeria. Hell, the concept of acknowledging that the raw material is African raw material is so foreign that even after legal action was taken and they got stopped from using the word Italian leather, they much rather call it genuine leather than Nigerian leather. And that just goes to show you how hell-bent these people are on not giving us our flowers. And that's the realization we made one day. And we decided to start our own company because, you know what? We as Africans need to create more African brands, and we need to tell more African stories. We export cocoa, we import chocolates, we export crude oil, we import petroleum, we export leather, and we import shoes and bags. And so when someone else is making the final product with your raw material, then they get to put whatever credit they want on the label. So if we had more African brands, then we get to control the narrative, and that's the inspiration behind Winston Leather. So every time you wear one of our shoes or every time you carry one of our bags, you're not just carrying a beautiful piece, you're carrying the flowers of Africa, you're carrying the story of Africa, and you should take pride in that.
Company, it's called Winston Leather. If you like, they just made it to New York Fashion Week. So these guys made it to Fashion Week. So if you're into fashion, you've seen them, you've seen their backpacks. It's cheaper than the Gucci, the Prada, but it's literally the same thing. The difference is it just doesn't have the stamp. As you can see here, as soon as he made that post yesterday, I shout out to a lot of black men. They came through for him. They stormed his website, started making purchases. He sold out. Yes, the sisters came through too. You can see he's selling out. I just saw the post, so I'm like, oh shit. He's saying like, you know, they're gonna sell out really, really bad. So I thought, well, if everyone's gonna buy in their stuff and they're gonna sell out, if it started on TikTok, there might be people on TikTok who actually want his items. So I thought I'd make a video and put it on here.
A lot of people don't know, Nigerian leather is some of the most valuable leather in the world. So for more than 500 years, Western traders have come to Timbuktu, Mali, and to Morocco to buy what today is known as Kano red leather. When we started exporting leather, when we started producing leather locally, we found out that there was a huge market for exports, and then tapped into the export market. 30 years later, you know, we're one of the biggest exporters in the country. So this was some of the inspiration behind Winston Leather, because we know that our leather is good enough to make bags and shoes for the biggest fashion houses in the world. So why can't we make it here in Africa? So we're doing made in Africa that can compete on a global level. So when you see a bag made in Nigeria now, and you see a bag that you were buying from any other country where you go shopping, it's the same. But because we don't have the middleman cost, we don't have the transport cost of taking it abroad and the transport cost of bringing it back, it's cheaper to buy in Africa for the same quality. And it's been amazing. 3 years later, we export to 14 countries. You know, we're going for trade fairs around the world. We're going for exhibitions around the world. And the world is accepting, we have great reception. So obviously we're on the right path, and we hope to build on this and continue to scale what we have. So one of the ways we measure our success is how many jobs did we create? How many mouths do we feed now? How many people are we inspiring? How many people look up to us and feel, if he can do it, I can do it. If a Nigerian guy can do it, I can do it. If a young guy can do it, I can do it. You know, that is a measure of success for us that is beyond just, you know, growth or monetary or, you know, everything else. And so the training that we invest in our staff is one of the most important factors of our success. We actually have some of our staff who are trained abroad and come back to Niger and train other Africans here in Africa. One of the ways by which we pass on the Winston DNA to our staff is by getting them to understand that, look, we're not just trying to make bags. We're trying to make the best bags in the world. We're trying to compete with the biggest fashion brands in the world. So every stitch is important, that it's uniform. The last stitch looks like the last one. We're not just stitching to be done with making the bag. We're trying to create a beautifully crafted product. There's a number of ways which, you know, the relationship with Flutterwave has been beneficial to us. Before we started working with Flutterwave, we had the issue of receiving payments in multiple currencies. So now that we're working with Flutterwave, I feel like that problem is mitigated a lot, because we're able to receive payments in multiple currencies seamlessly, effortlessly, you know, at the speed of a click.
Do you know that most of the leather used around the world actually comes from Africa? Yeah, your luxurious Italian leather handbag may have more Nigeria in it than Italy. In fact, African leather is highly sought after by fashion houses both within and outside of Africa, particularly in this African country right here. Made in Italy? Try made in Nigeria. Let's talk about it. Although today 71% of leather produced in Nigeria is exported to Italy and Spain, the African origins of leather, particularly within the luxury industry, have long flown under the radar. For example, this tannery right here, based in Kano, Nigeria, supplies leather to fashion houses like Louis Vuitton and Ralph Lauren, to name a few. This family-run business, Winston Leather, has effectively been supplying some of the biggest names in fashion for over 30 years. You see, in Nigeria, leather making has a long and storied history. For over 500 years, traders have bought leather from this West African country. It's been a center of leather production for years. Within northern Nigeria, one particular city stands out: Kano. Traditional tanneries in Kano are Nigeria's oldest and biggest leather suppliers. They are, and always have been, the starting point in many leather-producing chains. See, among the Hausa Fulani people of northern Nigeria, leather served a functionality. It was essential to the production of clothing, footwear, bags, and saddles for transportation and trade. Hides and skins from free-roaming cows, goats, or sheep were taken, and skilled artisans, who often belonged to specialized guilds, would transform them into leather through a process called leather tanning. And before you come screaming about animal cruelty, at the time and still in many African communities, all parts of the animal were used. As a source of food, architecture, clothing, nothing was thrown away. The skill and knowledge of these artisans was passed down through generations, perfected over centuries, and today, many of those traditional techniques are still in use. But while leather has traditionally been used to make practical products, it's also deeply intertwined with Nigerian cultural identity and constitutes a visible form of cultural expression. For example, in Igbo culture, leather is used to make Igbo akupe, a traditional leather hand fan, and in Yoruba culture, leather work is used in some ritual objects like the lapa. It's always had many uses and has always been highly sought after, which is probably why on the global stage, Nigerian leather has evolved to a symbol of luxury and high fashion. Now, that's not to say that the industry doesn't face issues. There are problems related to infrastructure, financing, and competition from imported goods. Made in Africa still doesn't have the same ring to it as made in Europe. But African designers are working to change that. Brands such as these are switching the narratives, and initiatives like the Lagos Leather Fair have brought smaller designers to the forefront and really showcased Nigeria's beautiful leather craftsmanship. There's really no need to look far. Beauty has always been found within the continent. We just need to foster it.
I'm here with what might be the best luggage that you can buy in the entire world, regardless of price point, and it's made in Africa. This is JokaJok, which is a luxury leather manufacturer based out of Kenya. Now, I am mean for these bags. I've had these for well over a year. I've taken them to job sites in Asia, in Africa, in America, and we beat the heck out of these, but they never go bad. They look just as good now as when we bought them originally. And what makes this leather so unique and why you can only get this quality from Africa is that these are Ethiopian cattle that are called the Zembu cattle. They're really weird looking, but you can only get them from Africa. They're super soft, super durable, and I think that this is the best luggage that you can get regardless of price points. And also in person, this stuff looks really good. When I'm in business lounges, I get asked all the time about what this brand is and how people can get it. So if you want to support African manufacturing and you want the best bag and luggage that you can get in the world, I'm warning you, this stuff is not cheap, but it is absolutely worth it. You go to JokaJok.com. I am not paid. I don't get any of these bags for free. I pay full price. And I think even though they're very expensive, they're completely worth it. So support African manufacturing and have the best bag in the world.
Leather. The leather industry across Africa, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and a lot of other places like Uganda have been exporting wet blue, which means we process all the gunk, we send the wet blue, and the same leather, when it comes back to Africa as a bag, it comes back as knockoffs because we can't afford the real deal. That is why here at JokaJok, we work with Kenyan leather, with African leather, to make sure that those jobs stay here on the continent and that knockoffs become a thing of the past. No more plastic items. I have a friend called Alan who used to be my classmate in school, one of the best sculptors. He works with wrought iron. He has inspired his sons to do so. He's also an actor. But are we going to frustrate these young people to a point where they no longer want to follow in our footsteps and do the things, the creative things that we did, and they want to move abroad because Africa is too frustrating for the African to stay and the creative to stay. People like Pamoja Decor, young people who've come together to make beautiful lampshades, they are making sure that young people go to their workshop, get trained, and understand how these two hands can feed you.
Now, you know I got a lot of energy, especially for this one. But before getting in there, full swing, I want to know what you think. Yes, did you know that this leather, that produces all luxury bags that China never mentioned? Calling it Italian leather. Did you know it comes from Nigeria, right? Did you know about the brand called JokaJok, which comes from Kenya, just a few drives from where I stay in Uganda? Yeah, did you know that? And now I see a lot of people wanting to be Nigerians so bad because there's something great about Africa. Well, I completely understand, right? And I must say, you are it, especially if you're black, right? This is your heritage. Greatness is in your bloodline. You know what you've been able to accomplish, especially if you are out of Africa. You know what you've been able to invent and how the world has robbed from you. So this is not a new story, just like you. That's why I say we are one people. We're the same. Just like the world robs you of your credit, of your achievements, of your inventions. Yeah, and they own it. It's the same way it is done to the continent. Because never in any of those videos did you hear any of them give credit to Nigeria. You heard that they even won a lawsuit on this, and they would rather call the leather genuine leather instead of Nigerian leather. Now, it's not only Nigeria that produces leather. Now, it's one of those like the best, right? But in all of the African countries, Uganda produces leather, yes, and it's good leather. Kenya does. Many African countries. Sometimes we watch people mocking us. You don't produce nothing. You copy us. We give you everything. You don't know nothing. And sometimes it's not because we don't know. We know. But sometimes we like to watch and see people exposing their ignorance. And when those people at some point come to light and understand what this continent gives to the world, they're like, oh no, right? Wow, all of this. And that's one of the things that gives me excitement when one of our own gets to the knowledge of what this continent is all about instead of what has been fed to you on the media. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just about leather. The mobile phones and all these electric cars and all these amazing things that you're seeing right now that are booming, you wouldn't have computers, all those iPads without the cobalt from Congo. You wouldn't have all the iPhone whatevers without the minerals that come from the continent. But who mentions it? Nobody. The moment it gets taken out of the continent, then it gets a new name. And just like that, the continent doesn't get any credit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to expose something that is very interesting, but sometimes I don't have these conversations. You remember COVID-19 when it broke out, right? Yes. Everybody thought this continent, we are going to be swept like mosquitoes. And surprisingly, it didn't happen. Rather, the people that invented this, the pit they dug, they fell in. And they lost quite a number of people. And I have my own theories about this, because I feel like this continent has just quite a lot to give. But it also has a number of people that are eyeing it. And they are like, the more we increase in numbers over here on the continent, the more they lose control on the resources that come from here. Because the wealth that they have does not come from the West. It comes from here. And they feel like they have an ownership over these resources. That's the reason as to why they don't give any credit. And I have a feeling that whole entire saga of COVID-19 was to make sure that they reduce the number of Africans. But thank God, thank the Most High, He has his eyes over us, and He's given us everything. When I say everything, leather and gold and those minerals is the less of what you can know. That includes even the medicines that heal us. And that's why even when they try to target us so that they can have monopoly over our resources, because now they have started seeing that there are people that are rising, like Burkina Faso. A lot of you are aware of what Burkina Faso is up to, right? And I don't even want to talk about it so much because I don't want to give this man so much publicity. Not because he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, because I feel like people giving him more publicity would make him a target a lot. Like, it would, yeah, he's already a target. He's already escaped so many attempts on his life. And that's why, again, I just want to keep it down low, right? But they see the number of young people that are rising, that have the continent at heart, that wouldn't want to sell their dignity. And I feel like in just give us a few years, this continent is going to be filled with a lot of leaders that are like that. And before you know, those luxurious brands will bring them to their knees. I have a feeling we might also bring the Western countries to their knees because they don't have anything. Everything comes from here. Moral of the story, or why I brought this entire thing, is you have seen all these young men, all these young people and what they're doing and how you can be able to support the continent. Now, I don't sell anything on here, on my platform. I just want to avoid any contact with money, to be honest, right? But you do have a lot of these people that are selling amazing stuff. Buy something from the continent so at least you have something to pride yourself in. Because trust me, like nobody gives us credit, but the real SHIT comes from here. And trust me, we do better. The craftsmanship that we have over here, everything begins here. Yeah. So I think I have a lot of things to say, especially when it comes to this, but I'm going to stop here, and I definitely want to hear your thoughts in here. I don't know if this is going to go anywhere, but just in case it does, I would like to hear what you have to say about this. And Africa finally coming out to expose all these hypocrites that rob from us and never give us credit. Same thing has to happen with the Black community. You guys are very vocal. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I think until then, from me, that's it. My name is Gracie and I love all of you. Bye.